I mean, you see the same theme with a lot of different things that, get people out of the house even when they're older. Maybe they got a motorcycle, maybe they like skiing or fishing or whatever, and it gets them off of their ass, off the couch. And it's always there, to a reason to pull you forward, the carrot in front of the cart. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, these people are role models, I think. Yeah. Instead of the role models that are, you know, lazy and tired and depressed and, they get put in a nursing home or whatever. And yeah, their life is physically happening, but not their soul, they're not here fully. So yeah, I don't want to be that. I want to still be inspired by life, I mean, I still think if somebody is inspired or of a depressed mindset, it's a failure of paying attention to what's actually happening here. Because if you really pay attention to the miracle of existence, the miracle of life, the miracle of everything that's going on around you, not your own life, flowers blooming and growing and children being born and running around, keeping you up late at night, it's a freaking miracle. And just we forget that because I think that the mind has two modes. We have the inspired mode, summoning life force, and then we have what Freud called Thanatos. Not Thanos, that's different. But Thanatos is the death instinct. It's a program in the cellular structure of the brain that is basically just starting to shut down and prepare for death. Everybody has it. Every animal has it. You see a wounded deer and they just all of a sudden stop fighting. And we just have to recognize it will always be there, to just do its job, to ease our transition out of this life. But if you choose, and I use this one an awful lot. If I start to get a little bit in a down mindset, I stop and I think about my life and I make a really bold and usually pretty loud statement. I choose to live. I choose to live. And from that means I choose to eat broccoli. You know what I mean? All the positive, constructive thoughts. I choose to take a walk. That comes from I choose to live. I choose to drink more water. I choose to smile and laugh. I choose to engage strangers and see if I can get somebody I don't even know to giggle. I believe that we get to the point where we want our pain to stop, right? And we want to do control alt delete on the whole damn thing because it hurts too much to think about our lives the way we're thinking about them. Right? That perspective. I think everybody has that capability to look through the eyes of shame or helplessness. Everybody has it. There is a view of your life that is incredibly depressing from that angle. Fortunately, there's all these other angles that we could be using, and if we're stuck in just that one, we got to shake the etch a sketch and remember that that's not absolutely true. It's not absolutely the only way to look at things. And if we realize and remember, I choose to freaking live, it summons the will in the moment, in the now moment. I choose to be here, inhabit this life. I choose to put on this whole reality that I've constructed for myself. Your version of existence on planet Earth. I choose to just be it, whatever it turns out to be, even if it's a little different than I thought. Well, I mean, it's the same thing that, when I was stuck in a cave and I had to climb out of it, climb up a raw rope, hand over hand that was wet. When I was frozen because I was stuck in the bottom of this cave, and I had this same feeling again. Like I choose to live. I choose to live right now. And all the energy that I needed showed up because of that conscious choice. Yeah. And, when you got to pull those handles, even if it's hard to pull them because it's a spinner or something, I choose to. And you discover that there's layers upon layers of you. Just you're not using that stuff very often, right? I mean, thankfully, we don't have to use the fight instinct or the runaway really, really fast because the bear's chasing us. Most of the time, that's not our life. But every once in a while, you discover that there's more than one version of you, and one of them has teeth. One of them has physical power, and is very creative in the way that it can resolve things. And we've especially with the Buddhism, man, they have downplayed the ego in its role, right? The ego's bad. Oh, yeah, but where else do you get that instinct from? Else do you get that passion of I will pull my handles, I will solve my problem, I will climb my way out of that other guy's canopy, you know. I will find a way to get that seatbelt off when my canopy has deployed out the door or whatever. You're going to be dealt these things every once in a while to see if you're paying attention. And in those moments, we do have the choice to go with the Thanatos thought system, the victim in the shock and awe in the freeze, which is basically putting Thanatos in the driver's seat, or no, no, I will not. I choose to live. Uh, I think the ones that live to tell the story, the ones that are 80 years old and still skydiving, and you look back in their history, and oh, by the way, that 80-year-old guy fought off cancer 15 years ago, or they fought off this or they fought off that, and they managed to stay above ground because of their passion to be alive. It's very easy to look at old people and go, oh, just decrepit old people, they smell funny and whatever. And what we should be doing is going, nice, man. Good, nice job staying alive. It's not that easy. You did have to summon that life force.